That morning, I didn't wake up to an alarm. I woke up to a tiny cough. It wasn't deep. It wasn't constant. But after everything with Nye, my body treated it like a siren. "Nye!" I whispered. She blinked at me, then grinned. "Banana!" she demanded, like the world was fine because she said so. I checked her forehead. Normal. In the kitchen, Anna had her markers lined up, drawing waves so big the blue ink bled through the page. "Mom," she asked, eyes bright, "if we go to the ocean, do the waves sleep at night?" Nye waddled in with her toy orange tucked under her arm. "Ocean," she announced proudly. And there was James, laptop open, coffee untouched, his face gone still in that careful way that meant he was reading something that could change our day. I stood beside him. "Do we have to go far?" I asked softly. James looked up. Calm eyes, weight behind them. "The board called," he said. "They want me back in the CEO seat, officially." My stomach tightened. "Now?" He nodded once. "Now. Not because I missed the title. Because it stops certain problems before they reach our gate." He didn't say my father. He didn't need to. Then he added, "There's a company retreat. Family-friendly, camping, beach, 2 nights. I want you there, so my team knows who I'm protecting." Anna's head snapped up. "Camping? Like a tent?" Nye clapped like she understood none of it and loved all of it. I kept my voice low. "Is it safe?" James didn't promise perfect. "We do it smart," he said. "Thermometer, meds, stay near the group, location shared with Luan. If you feel uneasy, we leave, no questions." That was the James I trusted. We opened Hill Fruits anyway, because life doesn't pause for fear. Luan came early and covered the front, while James took calls in the back. I worked the counter, smiled at customers, and listened for every change in James's voice. Mr. Hung noticed the duffel bag by the register. "Trip?" "Company camping," I said. He nodded slowly. "Good," he murmured. "Kids need sky, and you need wind again." Outside, Officer Thu passed. James stepped out to meet him, and I watched from the doorway. Thu didn't ask for details. He gave instructions. "Keep your location shared," he said. "Don't let pride turn into risk." James nodded, already planned. By afternoon, the shutters were down, the girls were buckled in, and our world smelled like sunscreen and packed snacks. Anna wore a bucket hat and held her wave drawing like a passport. Nee hugged her toy orange like it was family. James checked the seatbelts himself, then reached for my hand. "You okay?" "I'm nervous," I admitted. "Me too," he said. "Not about the beach. About letting my 2 lives touch." I squeezed his fingers. "Then we do what we always do," I whispered. "We stay kind, we stay firm. We leave if we need to." "Exactly," he said. When the coastline finally opened up, Anna went silent. The ocean wasn't a picture. It was endless and alive. For a few seconds, she couldn't speak. Then she whispered, "It's bigger than my paper." Nye pointed and shouted a sound that was pure awe. James laughed. Real laughter. and lifted both girls' hands like they were greeting something holy. The retreat area was simple. Rows of tents, lantern strings, coolers, a small stage. People in casual clothes turned toward James like they'd been waiting for him. A woman from his team shook my hand. "So you're Ms. Diep?" "Yes," I said, steady. Her smile softened at the girls. "And these must be the bosses." Anna stood taller. Nye waved like a celebrity. James leaned close to me. "This is good," he murmured. "We're not hiding." For a while, we were just a family. Anna ran barefoot, squealing as waves chased her. Nee sat in the sand and tried to feed her toy orange. James built a sand wall with Anna like it was serious work. I watched him from the edge of the water, sand on his hands, salt on his hair, and thought, this is the man they're calling CEO. Not a title chaser, a protector. Before the welcome talk, he stepped aside, opened his laptop again, and signed the final return documents right there on a cooler lid. No drama. Just a quiet click, then a slow breath. He sent a location pin to Luan and to a small security group chat, then came back to me and touched my wrist. "Still okay?" he asked. "I'm here," I said. "I'm with you." "Good," he whispered. "We stay together." At sunset, the company gathered. James stepped up in a plain t-shirt and jeans. "Thank you for being here," he said. "I'm back as CEO because I want us stronger, and I want our work to build lives, not burn them." Then his gaze found us. "This is my family," he said simply. "They're why I'll do things the right way." The applause was warm. Anna clapped the loudest. Nee yelled, "Yay, James!" And people laughed, the kind that feels like welcome. Later, the bonfire started. Anna held her marshmallow skewer with 2 hands and whispered, "Mom, this is the best night." Nye fell asleep in my lap, cheeks warm in the firelight. I checked her forehead anyway. Normal. James covered my hand with his. "You don't have to carry it alone," he murmured. For one tender moment, peace felt close enough to keep. Then James's phone buzzed. He glanced down, and I saw his expression tighten. "What is it?" I asked. He turned the screen toward me. "Unknown number. Proud of you. Keep them near the light. Dinner still stands." No name. But we both knew. James slid the phone away, voice controlled. "He doesn't get to steal this night." "He won't," I whispered. James lifted Anna onto his shoulders so she could see the dark waves. She gasped, "Dad, I can see forever." James smiled up at her. "That's the point." But when he set her down, his eyes were scanning the tent line. Lanterns, shadows, gaps between people. Another buzz. This time it was a photo. A close-up of our tent tag, taken from the outside, and one sentence beneath it, neat and calm. "I'm closer than you think." Folks, my heart is pounding. If you're still with me, please hit subscribe, because tomorrow's dinner may decide this family's future. James didn't speak at first. He held the phone in the firelight, and the photo on the screen froze my blood. Our tent tag, close enough to see the scratches, taken from outside. Beneath it, "I'm closer than you think." Nye slept in my lap, warm and heavy with trust. Anna was curled near the last coals of the bonfire, her marshmallow stick still in her fist, like she'd fallen asleep mid-happiness. I wanted to grab them and run, but running in the dark is how you lose a child. James leaned in until his mouth was near my ear. "Don't move," he whispered. Not commanding, protecting. His thumb flew. Luan. Officer Thu, a company security contact. Quiet texts, clean and fast. I swallowed. "Is it your father?" James's eyes stayed on the tent line, scanning lanterns and gaps between people. "I don't know," he said, "but they want us to feel watched." Anna stirred, rubbing her eyes. "Mom," she mumbled. "Why are you whispering?" James dropped to her level instantly, voice soft. "Hey, sweetheart. Nothing scary, just a safety check. Children don't need details to sense danger." Anna's gaze searched my face. "Are we safe?" My throat tightened. I built a smile out of air. "Yes, baby. Dad is right here." James nodded like it was stamped in ink. "I'm right here," he repeated. "Tomorrow you'll see the ocean again." Anna hesitated, then hugged his neck hard. "I want the waves," she whispered. "You'll get the waves," he said, kissing her hair. "I promise." When she drifted off, my hands started to shake. The delayed tremor, the mother body catching up. James saw it. He lifted Nye from my lap and laid her inside the tent, tucked and centered. Then came back and placed both hands on my shoulders. "Look at me," he said quietly. I did. "They want you scared," he said. "They want you to believe peace is borrowed. It's not." His phone rang. He answered on the first buzz. "Thu." I couldn't hear Officer Thu, but James's voice stayed controlled. "Beach retreat, family tent. I got a close photo of our tag. Unknown number. I want to sweep. Quiet now." He listened, then nodded once. "Good. No sirens." He ended the call and looked at me. "Thu's sending someone. Luan is already on the road." My chest clenched. Luan is hours away. James shook his head. "He left early to bring supplies. He's closer." 2 men from the company's security team appeared a few minutes later. No uniforms, no bravado. They spoke to James in low voices, then melted into the retreat like they belonged there. James returned to me. "We're switching tents," he said. Inside, I lifted Anna. She clung to my neck, half asleep. "Ocean sleeping?" she murmured. "Yes," I whispered. "The ocean is sleeping." Nye sighed against my shoulder, trusting me with her whole tiny life. As we walked, my senses sharpened until every laugh sounded too loud and every shadow looked like a person. That's what fear does. It turns the world into exits. James stayed tight beside us, his body angled between us and open sand. "You're doing good," he murmured, steadying me without making it a scene. The new tent area sat closer to staff, better lighting, fewer blind spots. Lanterns still swayed. Someone still played a soft song somewhere. Normal kept trying to live. When the girls settled again, James sat beside me and finally exhaled. "I hate this," I whispered. "I hate that even the beach isn't just the beach." "I know," he said, "but listen." He turned to face me fully. "This is why I'm stepping back in as CEO, not for power, for fences." "Fences?" I echoed. "Protocols, paper trails, cameras, people who answer to rules, not ego." His eyes hardened. "When I'm private, I'm easy to corner. When I'm public, I'm hard to touch." My fear shifted shape. "But being public makes us a target." James nodded. "Hiding already made us a target. It just made us quieter." His phone buzzed. Another message from the same number. He read it, and I watched his face tighten like someone touched an old bruise. He turned the screen toward me. "You can't keep them in the light forever." "Dinner tomorrow. Private table, bring the board decision." My stomach turned. "They know you're signing back in." "Which means it's someone inside," James said. "Or someone close enough to someone inside." I stared at the tent where our girls slept. "So what do? We leave tonight?" James's gaze held mine, steady but tired. "If we run every time they rattle the gate," he said, "we teach them they control the gate." My voice cracked. "James, I can't go back to sleeping with one ear open." He took my hand and pressed it to his chest, right over his heartbeat. "You won't," he said. "Tomorrow, I don't just sign papers. I trigger protection that doesn't rely on my fists." He opened his contacts and typed one message. Then he showed me the name. Maya Cortez. "The journalist?" I breathed. James nodded. "If someone is turning the CEO seat into leverage," he said, "we put sunlight on it. Real sunlight." His phone rang almost immediately. James answered. "Maya, I need you to listen." He spoke low, deliberate. "I have an active threat tied to my return as CEO. If anything happens tomorrow night, you publish immediately." He listened, then said softly, "Yes, that name." The call ended. I stepped closer, heart pounding. "James." "What name?" He didn't answer with words. Another message arrived, short, calm, and cruel in its confidence. "Tell Ms. Lee to Diep I missed her. Dinner is at 7 and this time, you don't get to say no." My knees went weak, not from the threat to James, but from the way it reached for me. James's eyes met mine, and something sharper than fear settled there. Decision. "He's using me," I whispered, "to pull you where he wants you." James nodded once. "Yes," he said. "And tomorrow, he learns the difference between a family he could control and a family that refuses." He glanced toward our sleeping girls, then back to me. "You stay with them," he said. "You stay in the light." "And you?" I asked. James's jaw set. "I go to dinner," he said, "but I don't go blind, and I don't go alone." Folks, my heart is racing. Before we face that private table, please hit subscribe, because tomorrow night could change everything. James woke before sunrise, and I knew it by the way the air felt. Tight. listening. He stood outside the tent, staring at the ocean like it might warn him before a phone could. "You didn't sleep," I said. He turned, eyes soft on me. "Enough," he answered. "Officer Thu swept the perimeter," James said. "No obvious strangers. But last night wasn't a misunderstanding." "And dinner?" I asked. James nodded once. "I signed back in as CEO this morning, publicly, witnesses. Then I go to that table on my terms." Before I could argue, Anna padded out, hair wild, clutching her wave drawing. "Mom, is the ocean awake?" "Yes, baby," I said, pulling her close. Nai toddled behind her with the toy orange. "Water," she announced, proud as a queen. James kissed both their foreheads. "We still do the beach," he said. "We don't cancel joy because someone tried to steal it." Anna ran into the first wave and squealed. Nai laughed at the foam. James held their hands and watched the shoreline with a protector's calm. I saw it then. He wasn't choosing between work and family. He was turning work into armor for family. Late morning, James gathered 3 senior staff near the small stage. No speech, no drama. He signed the return documents with witnesses present and the company lawyer on video call, then recorded one clear sentence. "As of today, any threats to my family will be handled through lawful channels." When he returned, he placed his phone in my hand and pointed to one icon. "If anything feels wrong," he said, "press this. It shares our location with Luan, Thu, and security instantly." As dusk slid in, the clock felt louder than the waves. A security contact approached James. "We traced the device ping," he said quietly. "Last night it hit a tower near the resort entrance." My stomach dropped. "So they were here." "Close," he confirmed. I turned to James. "Then we leave." James's voice stayed low, but final. "If we run every time they rattle the fence," he said, "we teach them they own the fence. And if we stay, we risk the girls," I snapped, then softened because my throat was already breaking. James took my hand. "That's why you won't be near that table," he said. "I'm coming with you." "No," he said, gentle and firm. "They aim the message at you. Your presence is the leverage they want." It stung. "So I hide?" "You lead," he corrected. "You keep Anna and Nai safe." He knelt in front of Anna. "Kiddo, you stay with Mom tonight." Anna's lip trembled. "Are you going somewhere scary?" "I'm going somewhere serious," he said. "But you are safe." Anna whispered, "Be safe too." James hugged her so tightly her feet lifted. "I will," he promised, "because you asked me to." Nai reached up. "James," she mumbled sleepily. James kissed her hair. "I'm coming back," he whispered. "Always." He left with 2 security men and a company colleague as witness. Before he stepped away, he pressed his forehead to mine. "If I don't text you by 8, he whispered, "press the button." I sat with the girls while the ocean kept breathing like nothing in the world could touch us. Anna tried to draw, but kept glancing up. Knee played, unaware that my heart was counting minutes. Then my phone buzzed. "James, at the table. Safe. Stay calm." I exhaled so hard my ribs hurt. A second buzz. Unknown number. Still smiling? Good. Let's see how long it lasts. My hands went cold. Anna looked up. Mom? I kissed her forehead. Grown-up problems, I whispered. Nothing for your shoulders. A call lit my screen. Maya Cortez. I'm here, she said, low and controlled. James asked me to keep you informed. Is he okay? He's controlled, she said, but the man across from him isn't a stranger. Who? I breathed. A pause. James's father. He told us he wanted peace, I whispered. But peace can be another form of control, Maya said gently. James is making him speak on record. The call ended. Then, footsteps on sand. James came down the path, walking steady. When he reached us, he took my face in his hands like he needed proof I was real. I'm here, he whispered. Anna ran into him and cried, You came back. James dropped to his knees and held her hard. Always, he said, rough with emotion. When he looked at me, his eyes shone. He was behind the number, James said, directly or through someone he hired. But it was his voice. My anger flared. So he threatened us. He tried, James said, but I didn't go blind. He showed me an audio clip, clear, cold. His father's voice. If you want your little family untouched, you'll stop putting her at the center. James's reply. She is the center, and the moment you tried to move her, you crossed the last line. Then Maya's voice announced herself. A company lawyer joined the call, and Officer Thu's name was spoken like a door opening. James met my eyes. He can't call this family business anymore, he said. It's coercion. It's recorded. I trembled. What happens now? Now we stop giving him private access, James said. Boundaries, legal steps, security, no more dinners. Anna sniffled. Are we safe? James cupped her cheeks. We're safer, he said, and we're together. He took my hand, then took Anna's, then lifted Nye into his other arm. Nye giggled, like she sensed the world had clicked back into place. At the tent, James paused and spoke like a vow. I'm CEO again, he said, but my first job is this. You. Them. Tears finally slipped down my face. And my first job, I whispered, is believing we deserve peace. We lay down with the ocean breathing outside and our children breathing inside. Just before sleep, James's phone buzzed one last time. Unknown number. You won the table. You haven't won the town. James stared at it, turned the screen off, and pulled me closer. We'll win it, he whispered. Not by fighting louder, by staying together. And for the first time in a long time, I believed him. Because this time, we weren't guessing. We were building.